Hey, Nick. Hey everybody, Barry Greene here, doing a Facebook Live. I think everything is figured out now, and these should probably be pretty good quality. I'm hoping. Chris, Wendy, how are you? And Nick, always good to see you guys. So I'm just going to wait just a couple of minutes and hope to get some more people here. Okay, cool. Daniel, Hashim, good to see everybody. Greg, David. Yeah, David, you were actually right, man. It was a technical thing. Without getting into what it was, there were two audio streams happening at the same time. And I finally figured out why that was happening. So this should be pretty good. So even with this space, should be okay. Thanks for the blues phrases. Any blues that I know, I stole from George Benson. All right, so I think I'll get started. So I just wanted to do just a little quick little thing about Pentatonics, give you a couple of little tricks that I know. So I'm going to use some modal, just like a modal progression, meaning I'm just going to play one chord just to demonstrate some of this stuff. Some of this stuff you guys will know, but hopefully you'll find some of this pretty interesting. But anyway, if I was dealing with a tune like So What or Impressions, or even any tune that you are dealing with in a modal fashion, obviously you can play the pentatonic scale from the root of the chord, D minor. And I'll just do that first, just to demonstrate that. So here's some comping on D minor. So this is just D minor pentatonic. so that was just a D minor pentatonic. But what's really cool is I could take everything I just played, all that D minor pentatonic stuff, and play it from the ninth of the chord. So that was all D minor. So I could play E minor pentatonic. Just I'll tell you this too. This pattern that I'm kind of leaning on a lot is I got this from McCoy Tyner. You know, you hear it all the time. It's just a so just scale all the 4 notes. I mean 3 notes down, descending scale wise, and then you play the first note. You play it, and just head down the rest of the scale that way. But here's the sound of that. So this is E minor pentatonic, 1 whole step higher on a D minor chord. So I'll use that same chord progression that I just played. Okay, so that is just same stuff I was playing on D minor, but instead using E minor. So a whole step up sounds great. Another trick you could do, it's along the same lines, is you could play pentatonics, minor pentatonic in this case. I'm still talking about a D minor chord. I could play minor pentatonic from the 5th, which would be A minor pentatonic. It's probably the first pentatonic scale we all learned. So here is the sound of that. This is just A minor pentatonic over that D minor comping I just did. Okay, so that's A minor. So you've got on minor chords D, one from the root, from the 5th, and from the 9th, and I think that's pretty cool. Let me read some of these comments before I go. Let's see. So yep, Jorge Salinas playing. Yep, I know it's like kind of one of those wow moments for sure, but. All those tones, if you really take a look at it, you'll see all those tones are just like the upper extensions of the chords. It just sounds great. David Henderson is asking me, what other patterns do I practice? Well, let's see. I mean, I like, if I'm coming out of, let's just say the E minor, I like looking at the fourths. In other words, if you were to take your pentatonic scale and do it intervallically, you get mostly fourths except for one. You get 1/3 in there, but everything else is all fourths. So I like to take advantage of that. Things like that. That last one, I made a mistake. So just playing them intervallically really will get you a lot of stuff going on too. All right, so let's talk about the same basic idea, but now on major 7 chords. So if I were to, let's say we're doing this on B flat major 7, I'll show you I can use the same principle. So let me do some comping on just B flat major 7. So that's just some B flat major 7 stuff, and here's just B flat major pentatonic, a la the Allman Brothers. So we've all heard that plenty. But the same thing, I can play from the 9th of the chord. So that would be C. So I can play C major pentatonic over, I'm going to play my guitar a little louder, over B flat. So here's B flat major 7 sharp 11 basically. C major pentatonic. So here's a demonstration of that. That's the sound of C major pentatonic over a B flat major 7 chord. You can do the same thing as I did earlier. I can play F major pentatonic as well. And here is the sound of that. So as you guys can probably hear, I was slipping in some outside stuff, and there's a lot more to this. I just wanted to give you kind of like a little bit of some basic fundamental background stuff, because it doesn't require you learning anything new. It's just a matter of just playing at a different spot. But there's way more to this, and if you really want to get into it more, go check out my Vimeo on demand page. I've got a lesson, I think it's just called Pentatonics, and I'm sure it's at least 30 minutes to 40 minutes long, with tons of PDF stuff, tons of examples you can check out. PDF has notation and tab too. So again, that was just like a little getting your feet wet kind of a thing, but it works great, as you can hear. Just that alone will make your playing a lot more interesting than if you were just treating those pentatonics from the root all the time. So let me read some of the David Henderson, what's the outside stuff? Yeah, Jorge, the groove really makes it. Yeah, man, I think that's true. I think it's true about everything, which is why we, love Wes and George and everybody. I mean, everybody who we admire has great tone and great time feel. So big stuff. Let's see what else. Josh, that was really nice of you, man. Thanks very much. I hear Doobie Brothers. Yeah, I know. Stefano was just asking me what technically what I did differently, because I've been trying to test this software that I'm using. Which, by the way, you guys, if you're into doing these live streams, the software is free. It's just called OBS, Open Broadcast Studio, Open Broadcaster Studio, I think. It's totally free. I mean, it's a little bit of a learning curve like everything, which is why it took me about 4 or 5 tests to figure it out. And I'm just using a Logitech webcam, which I think you can get for like $70. It's rated as like the best one out there, and it looks really good. The one not little thing, but I'm using my Zoom H5 portable recorder, which is a nice piece of audio equipment. That's the most expensive part of this. But I use that also to record all my video lessons. But I'm using it in what's called USB mode, so I can use it just basically as a microphone. That's what I'm doing now. So the audio you're hearing is going through the Zoom, which is really nice. So I think at this point, I think I've got it pretty much figured out. But oh yes, I never answered Stefano's question. I somehow had 2 different audio streams going at the same time, and they were not totally, but they were out of sync just enough to create the feeling of like digital delay or whatever. Because I really didn't know what I was doing and how to set up the audio stream properly, but now I do. So that was a problem. It was totally technical. It had nothing to do with reverb in this room. Yeah, Daniel, it's a great camera. I mean, I just can't, well, I shouldn't say this, but I can't believe how inexpensive it is, because it sounds really, 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 really good. So BJ Maroney is asking, can this be played over the basic 12-bar blues? Yeah, like if you thought of your, if you were playing blues in B flat, and you thought about your B flat 7 as more of an F minor 7, so that's the sound of that. But now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, I mean, you could do it. I don't think it has the same effect. It really works best in the way I just explained it. We're on tonic, or I should say static minor chords and static major chords. You can play from the root 9th or 5th. So, but on minor blues, it would work great. That's for sure. Something like Mr. PC, you can use it like crazy. But even, just standards, even if you took like Wes's tune, instead of treating it like with this 2/5 thing, just treat it as G minor. So all of those first 4 measures, playing that stuff I just showed you. That was the one from the 9th. So you definitely can turn tunes into modal things. As a matter of fact, right now, I'm just finishing up a new lesson on the tune You'd Be So Nice to Come Home To. So that tune is just but I could still treat that whole G minor 2/5 section as just modal, and do all those things I just explained to you. So it's not necessary for it to be a modal tune. You could take tunes and play them modally. which is pretty cool. Yeah, well, I don't know how old you are, Jorge, but I remember buying those records from Doobie Brothers as they were coming out. So anyway, yeah. Does anybody else have any questions? Let me see if I can see anything new here. But that was a great question about the blues. Yep. All right. Jorge, thank you, Jorge, by the way, for asking all these questions. Speaking of modal, why is the melodic minor different going up than coming down? I mean, I can tell you that that's a classical musician thing. The jazz musicians do not do that. We treat the scale with raised sixth and seventh in both directions, in all directions. So that, like I said, I think there is an interesting story behind the creation of all those melodic minor scales. From natural minor, all harmonic, all the way to melodic. And I could tell you that story, but I think it would be boring. But just to say that the jazz musicians will always, here's A altered, I would use B flat melodic. Just the same way, up and down, raise sixth and seventh. Or if you really want to cheat or make it a little easier, it's a major scale with a flatted third. B flat major, B flat melodic minor. It's that easy. Well, thank you. It's interesting to hear a comment like this, that this is an advanced lesson, because I don't really think it is if you just think about what you're doing, because I'm sure, regardless of where you are in Leoncio, hopefully I'm saying that right, where you are in your guitar playing, I think we all pretty much start with the pentatonic scale, and that's all I'm utilizing in these examples. It's just a matter of thinking of them from different places. And by the way, that's something that I do in a lot of material. If any of you guys who are on my Vimeo page, that whole secret jazz chord thing that I'm a big fan of. Having one tonality work on 6 different chord sounds. It's the same. To me, it's the same idea. You're just using material that you're already very comfortable with over different harmonies. So. Stephen, what's going on? Let's see if there's any other questions. I've always thought that if there was a practical way to harmonize pentatonics as there are for the notes of the major scale, not really, because like I said, I think it really works best with fourth voicings, which I was doing when I was comping. And like, I'll give you a little taste of that too. For instance, like if I took just the 3-note fourth voicing, I could just harmonize that within the D Dorian mode, or even the E Dorian mode, like we were talking about earlier. But if I just did that, I'd get and if I took the so what chord, which is fourths with a third on top, I did the same thing, just keeping it within the D Dorian mode. That's kind of it's exactly what Bill Evans was doing on Kind of Blue, but he had much access to many more notes, so he can get almost playing the entire scale, where obviously limitations of the guitar, we're not going to be able to do that, but that's, I think, as close as you can get. But you're really just treating your chord playing more scalarly, not thinking of it as vertical things. You're just thinking of it totally horizontal, if that makes sense. One of the things that I remember when I was kind of discovering this stuff is that if you took that so what chord, most of us when we comp for so what, and I see it happen all the time, I'm always dealing with young guitar players at UNF, but it's just usually the comping is this. Just staying in that little safe place, that was so what, and never taking the time to do the rest of it. But what I'm leading toward is one of the things that really blew me away when I was doing this many, many moons ago was the one that's behind this is just like a G13 chord. but it's just great stuff. Another plug for my video lessons, but I have one lesson on there called Modern Comping Techniques, which talks a lot about what I'm giving you here, and show you how to generate all these inversions and to learn it all over your instrument. It really opens up your comping as in particular in modal situations. So this is something else. Daniel, do you think that the pentatonic intervallic playing over a common tonal progression like 2-5-1? Yeah. I mean, you definitely can. Like, for instance, I'll give you like a good example of that. Like, if you were just talking about a 2-5-1 in C, if you think of your D minor 7 chord, the 2 chord, as just an F major triad with D in the bass, then I can, just play F major pentatonic over that D minor, right? But if you go to your dominant chord and voice it like this, which is flat 9, natural 13, it's an E triad on top of that. And I can play E major pentatonic on there. And yes, if you really take a look at it, there'll be some notes that really, well, actually one in particular, that doesn't fit. But it sounds so cool. So you'd have, and if you were fortunate enough to be going to C minor, that would take you to a E flat over C. So in a D minor 7 to G7, 13 flat 9, C minor 7, the top is just this. And like I said, so you could do that. If you went, I'll just wrap it up, just so I don't leave anything uncovered. If you were going to major, you could play C Lydian, and there's your D major triad. So that would give you F, E, D. So definitely. So, Bruce, I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Sean. All right. I'm here. We got a good amount of people here. If you guys want me to play a tune, I'll be happy to. I could even just play. You know what? Why don't I just do So What? I'll just blow over the changes to So What for a little bit, utilizing all that stuff. Does that sound like a good idea to you guys? And there's like about a 30-second delay, so I'm just gonna, I'll just do it and not wait for you to respond. But I'll try to also use some of these voicings that I mentioned from the lesson that I've done called Modern Voicing Techniques. Some of these more clustery kind of fourth voicings. Like, believe it or not, this is a fourth voicing, just inverted. As I said, I talk about this a lot in that particular lesson. So here's the change to So What. Okay, so that's all the stuff on the minor. I definitely rhythmically messed up some of the comping, as you guys heard, but that is that stuff. Okay. I'm reading Steven's thing. That's why I look like I'm. Fourth's definitely cool and fit with minor third relationship. Yep, that stuff is all on the lesson that I did on Pentatonics, I believe. If you guys haven't checked out the site, you should definitely check it out anyway, because there's a free lesson up there on whatchamacallit, technique. As a matter of fact, let me get the link so you guys don't have to. But yeah, check it out. There's about, I don't know, like a day and a half worth of lessons up there that you can check out. Dan Wilson, what's up, man? Hey, I really would love to know how you're liking that guitar, and whether you found out what gauge strings you're using. Well, Dan Wilson is here. As you guys know, Dan is one of the finest guitar players on the planet, so I'm going to play some more Pentatonics for him. That's what I'm talking about now, Dan. Anyway, congratulations on all your success. Anyway, I don't know why I'm even trying to show off for Dan Wilson, but I hope you're still here, man. And like I said, I hope you're enjoying that Benedetto. I've got a concert tonight over at UNF. I think I'm going to play mine. There's a couple of tunes. I want to try to bend a string or two. So anyway, you're using 11s. Wow, man. Wow. You sound like you've got such a heavier gauge on there. I don't know how you do that. Anyway, if you're ever passing through, in the South, man, if you're even to get as close as to Atlanta, please contact me, and maybe we can bring you over to, UNF. You could do some master classes and stuff like that, because I'd love to meet you, and plus the students would just be blown away. So let me know if you're ever in the area, okay? If there's any other questions, you guys. I guess that's it. Sylvain Courtney, if you guys don't know Sylvain, another like an amazing, just mind-blowingly good guitar player, who I believe lives in France, and fingerstyle. It's just absolutely amazing. If you haven't checked them out, please do. You'd be blown away. So see, Gregory Francois, I believe, hopefully I'm saying that right. Can you explain pentatonics with Dorian mode like Benson or Santana? I mean, you know, with actually Dan Wilson being the guy to ask about the George thing. Like Santana, though, I know is coming just from the tonic of the chord. You know, so if he's doing. So he's really coming out of the really what I think is the Dorian sound. And I would go and attempt to bend these strings, but these are 13s, which is actually a lighter gauge for me. But Santana is more coming out of the pentatonic stuff from the root of the chord. Where the things I was showing you guys was building pentatonics off of different pitch levels of the chord, like the 5th and 9th, like I mentioned. As far as George, you know, when I hear George really play a lot of pentatonics, it would be over, like, you know, when he's playing blues, which is a lot. But I'm not the guy to ask. The guy to ask is right here, Dan Wilson. You know, like I said, the thing that's up a whole step, like I explained to you guys, you know, playing E minor over a D minor chord. Sorry. I mean, I do hear a lot of people doing that. You know, it's not that it's a gigantic secret, but I think that the ease of which you can change a pretty bland sound, you know, playing it from the root of the chord, just by moving your hand up a whole step, to me is one of my favorite things to show students to get them like to another level. You know, it's really, really a blast. So, Tommy, you use a mix of drop 2, drop 3 chord of the voicings when comping. Yeah, that's a great question, man, and I get it often. But you are right. I'm using a lot of fourths, a combination of fourths and thirds, a la Bill Evans, So What, Kind of Blue. Then the inversions. There are all these, like I said, please check out that lesson I just mentioned several times, Modern Voicing Techniques. But you have all these methods of creating inversions. Like this is a fourth voicing, just inverted. As a matter of fact, that chord I just played for you is where I came up with my introduction for Windows. You guys know the tune. So I came up with an intro from finding that fourth voicing, and it's just this. And this is, like I said, all this is laid out very, very clearly with a lot of supporting PDF material. Yes, I'm being a salesman today. I want to get more people on my website, but I'm going to try to do this now that I have this gear all figured out much more often. You know, maybe as often as once a week. What was the rest of that question? Oh yeah, the big question is melody, man. It's all melody. So I'm just listening for the top, you know, note of my chords. So you know, I just try to play pretty things, as you know, as far as the top notes. So I might, for that just D minor, I might have. It's like that for everything for me, whether I'm comping modally or a standard tune, even a turnaround. It's all about just melodies. That's what's making the decision making for voicings more than anything. James Ito, great young guitar player who's living in New York. He grew up in Orlando. I met him when he was just in high school. I almost wanted to leave the room because he and another friend of his somehow had learned to play guitar way too good for their age. It was unbelievable. So he's over at Manhattan School of Music, I believe. James, a really, really fine musician. You'll definitely be hearing a lot about him soon enough. Hey, Eric. Armani is asking me, can I talk a little bit about my picking? Yeah, I'm using a Fender medium pick. I've gone, I don't know, through several different periods of my life. I used to, use a really heavy pick and even heavier strings than these, trying to emulate that Pat Martino thing that I found myself so drawn to. But nowadays, I've lowered the gauge. For me, like I said, these are 13s, the Tomastic 13s, and just using the Fender pick that I pretty much grew up playing with. I like that it has a little bit of snap against heavier strings. Like, I'm not really a fan of it on light strings, but I love it when you can really get some resistance and hear that snap. And where I have this microphone right now, you're probably hearing a lot of the acoustic guitar. So that is that's the sound I'm going for. But as far as the technique, man, I'm just all about alternate picking. I always have been, and I just followed this one really gigantic piece of advice I got a long time ago, and that was to practice really slowly and make sure everything is being articulated, perfectly. So if I'm practicing, just like you guys or any of us, I still practice my scales, every single day. I still practice major scales, just kind of to warm up and loosen up or whatever. But I would just play. With a metronome, and just make sure, like I said, that my hand is always relaxed, and that I'm playing slow enough where I'm not making any mistakes at all, because then you're building a great foundation. And another friend of mine from the University of North Florida, where I teach, has a great quote. I don't know if he came up with it, but he was saying, the quote is, "Speed is a byproduct of good technique." I think that's something that we all mess up a lot. Like, we think the ultimate goal is to be able to play fast, so we just jump in and just try to play fast. And that's not going to work, because you're just going to be practicing tons of mistakes. But if you just do it like I just showed you now, as slow as it needs to be for it to be perfect, all the articulations to be perfect, that there's no weak sounding notes, that your right hand feels really relaxed, but at the same time has got some, grease on it, so to speak. In other words, at least the way I like to play, in the style of the guys that you guys know I love, like Benson and Pat Martino, to have it's got to be a little bit on the heavier side, but at the same time keeping it loose. And again, the only way you can accomplish that is by practicing slowly, and that's it. Just give it time, and it'll all be there. But for me, I'm an alternate picking guy, and I've seen a lot of people with success, like with the most bizarre looking right hands. It's a frustrating thing, Armani. Because you look at Pat Martino's right hand, I don't know what he's doing with it. Benson's got a whole thing that has become like a method. And from guitar player to guitar player, right hands vary so much. And so I'm kind of a believer in wherever you can play in a relaxed manner, that's where you should stick. But the philosophy of playing slowly and with a metronome, I think, is the most important thing. All right, let me see if there are no more questions. All right, well, this has been a lot of fun, you guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking with me when I didn't know what I was doing with this new software. But I'll be back next week. I'll think of another masterclass topic that we could talk about. But like I said, I think I can easily do this, once per week. So thanks again for being here. Have a great day or a great night wherever you are in the world. Thank you, Dan Wilson, Sylvain Courtney, two of my favorite guitar players, for dropping in. And I'll see you guys again soon. All right, take care. Bye. If I could just shut this off. I don't know how to do that.